30 years after Himmel's death, Frieren, Fern, and Stark are crossing the northern plateau on their way to the Golden Land. The Golden Land is sealed away, and it is connected to one of the few enemies who has ever defeated Frieren. Fern tells Frieren that Lernen, a first-class mage, has quietly asked for their help. Frieren does not trust the unusual request. Lernen once attacked her and wounded her shoulder, but when she hears that the reward is a rare spellbook, she agrees to listen. Their destination is Weise, a fortress city that Macht of El Dorado turned entirely into gold 50 years earlier. Macht is one of the 7 sages of destruction, and the barrier around the city is the only thing keeping him trapped inside. When the group reaches the barrier, they meet Denken. He is now a first-class mage and the person responsible for maintaining the seal. Denken asked Serio for this job because his real hometown lies just north of Weise. The Golden Land swallowed that village only a few years ago. The barrier keeps Macht inside, but his magic continues to spread. That is why the seal has to be adjusted every year. The job also allows Denken to enter the Golden Land and visit the grave of his late wife. Frieren immediately refuses to fight Macht and tells Fern to return Lernen's spellbook. Fern and Stark are surprised. Frieren normally accepts dangerous work when other people are at risk. But Frieren has fought Macht before, and he defeated her. Even now, she cannot picture a way to beat him. As far as Frieren is concerned, the safest choice is to leave Macht sealed away until he dies. Denken understands her decision. He also explains that this is not simply about revenge. His wife died when she was still young. For decades, he avoided both her grave and the town where they had lived together. He buried himself in work and used his duties as an excuse not to return. When the Golden Land swallowed the village, Denken thought the past would finally disappear. Instead, he found the streets and homes perfectly preserved in gold. Inside the preserved church, he could no longer avoid the happy memories or the regret that came with them. Denken's story reminds Frieren of a conversation she once had with Himmel. She had told Himmel that she avoided a spell that creates a field of flowers because it reminded her of Flam, her late teacher. Himmel told her that painful journeys can still hold happy memories. Remembering those moments does not erase the loss, but it does stop those days from being forgotten. Back in the present, Denken tells Frieren to forget his request. He explains that Lernen only contacted her because he was worried about him. But Denken also says he has found a possible clue to defeating Macht. Frieren decides to stay and hear him out. Denken leads the group to an old hut once used by the people who maintained the barrier. Very few keepers ever stayed there. Most mages are too afraid to live so close to Macht and the Golden Land. Fern then notices something deeply unsettling. She cannot sense any magic coming from the Golden Land at all. To her senses, the entire region appears to be ordinary solid gold, as if no spell had ever been cast. Frieren explains that Macht's spell is called Diagolza. It can turn physical objects into gold without giving off any trace of magic. Normal curses can sometimes be treated with the goddess's magic. Diagolza is different because no one can sense it, block it, or avoid it. Frieren believes that anyone trying to fight Macht directly would need power on the level of Serie. Denken then shares what Lernen and Edel discovered during their investigation of the Golden Land. On their journey toward Aushurst, Edel asks why Lernen has gone so far to help Denken. Lernen explains that he and Denken once served together as imperial mages. When Lernen was expelled, Denken was the person who defended him. Lernen waited 50 years to repay that kindness, just as Denken waited 50 years to return to his hometown. Back at the hut, Denken states the problem plainly. Defeating Macht in a direct fight is impossible. Stark urges Frieren to keep listening, because Denken has not yet explained the clue that brought them there. Denken's impossible conclusion should end the discussion, but one strange fact keeps the case open. He entered the Golden Land, mocked, found him, and for reasons still unclear, Denken left unharmed. That mystery leads back to Lernen and Edel's investigation into the stone bracelet of servitude. Lernen recruits Edel because her mental magic may examine what ordinary magic cannot. He shows her a replica of the stone bracelet of servitude, the only known item capable of controlling a demon's mind. The ruler of Weise once used the original bracelet to control Macht and seek unfathomable wealth. Macht eventually resisted the bracelet and transmuted the entire fortress city of Weise into gold. Because Macht is rumored to still wear it, Lernen wants Edel to study the replica and restore the enchantment. Outside the Golden Land, Lernen's group meets Fru, a second-class mage from the preliminary examination team. Fru says Macht encountered her party inside the Golden Land. Lernen asks why Fru alone escaped, and why Macht would ever let her flee. Before Fru can answer, she turns to gold. The change happens too quickly for Edel to read her memory. Lernen realizes Macht probably delayed the transformation as a warning to anyone approaching the Golden Land. The investigation ends with a hard lesson. They had underestimated Macht. Fru's sudden transmutation leaves Lernen and Edel with a warning. They don't get an answer. From a cliff above the barrier, Edel observes the perception-hindering spell that keeps the Golden Land hidden from ordinary people. Lernen explains that the Golden City attracts trespassers, but very few return. They also know Macht's gold cannot be destroyed, refined, or reshaped, making it different from ordinary gold. Before entering, Lernen brings Edel to one of Weise's last survivors, a former servant of the Gluck family, with the servant's consent. Edel reads his memories of Gluck placing the stone bracelet of servitude on Macht 60 years earlier. In that memory, Gluck commands Macht to serve Weise and never hold malice toward its people. If Macht feels even the slightest malice toward them, the command requires him to end his own life. Edel notices the weakness immediately. Commands like that only make sense if the enemy thinks like a human. The servant says Gluck wanted enormous wealth, but Edel doubts that explanation because unworkable gold has no real value. Inside the Golden Land, Lernen and Edel find impaled victims left as a brutal warning. Macht appears and says they should have turned back. Since they did not, he must kill them as an example. Before Macht can strike, Lernen attacks first and treats being called a daredevil as the best compliment he has ever received. Lernen's opening shot turns the investigation into a fight, giving Edel time to examine the stone bracelet of servitude. Macht rushes him, but Lernen keeps dodging and firing spells to buy as many seconds as he can. Then Lernen notices something strange. Macht is not trying to turn him into gold yet, likely because he wants to make an example of him. Macht realizes Lernen is only stalling and discovers Edel's attempt to restore the bracelet. Edel finally reports what she found. The stone bracelet of servitude has no flaw and is working as intended. Lernen asks how Macht could destroy Weise without feeling malice. Macht answers that demons know the word malice, but have no concept of it and cannot feel it. Edel understands the horror. For demons, deceiving and killing humans is instinct, not hatred. That means Edel cannot fix the bracelet by rewriting its orders. Lernen declares a retreat. He admits his real goal was to gather information for Denken's eventual victory. He summons a golem and tries to escape. Macht cuts through it and wounds him. While Macht focuses on Lernen, Edel rushes in, touches him, and reads his memories despite the pain. Lernen congratulates Edel and summons a massive golem. Macht turns it to gold, but the smoke lets them disappear. Back in the present, Frieren says reading Edel's memories is extraordinary. Denken then reveals what he has been doing each day. He has been visiting Macht and speaking with him. Those visits have become part of Denken's routine, but they have brought him no closer to a solution. The stone bracelet binds the demon to two commands: serve Weise's citizens and hold no malice toward them. Yet Denken's goal remains impossible. Killing Macht will not restore El Dorado. Frieren cites Flammer's barrier as proof that magic persists after death. Macht's transmutation would remain forever. They are locked in mutual stalemate. Neither can force the other's hand. Frieren demands to face Macht directly. She needs to confirm something only he can answer. Fern and Stark refuse to be left behind, though fear shows plainly on the warrior's face. At Weise's center, Macht waits by the gate. He greets them with perfect civility. He claims this is their first meeting, then corrects himself. They fought 600 years ago. Frieren offers to help him remember. The air tightens with old violence barely held back. Tea is poured. Negotiation replaces combat, for now. Macht admits complete indifference to the Demon King's death. He served from convenience, never loyalty. He speaks of peaceful coexistence even as his gold entombed an entire city. The talks collapse. Nothing is resolved. Afterward, Denken reveals what he hid. He was Macht's master and the Gluck family's mage. Denken's confession hangs in the air. The elderly mage was Macht's student from infancy, taught spells no demon should know. Frieren presses the timeline. The stone bracelet came after 80 years of service, not before. Macht was already obedient. The bracelet was political insurance, not restraint. Weise's destruction becomes stranger, more uncanny, the deeper they dig. Frieren admits what neither wants to hear. She sees no path to victory. Macht could have killed them casually during tea. Denken reveals another secret. Another mage extracted roughly a century of Macht's memories, too vast for one mind alone. He asks Frieren to join him, sharing the burden through physical contact, their minds diving together into demonic memory. Macht waits elsewhere, musing on coexistence. He calls their future struggle a battle for understanding, not mere survival. His memories surface: burning villages, a dying priest who accepted death without pleading, an elder who pitied him instead. Macht knows the words for fear, rage, and sorrow, yet speaks them hollowly. He watches human faces contort with emotions he can't feel. His cruelty wears the mask of favor. He forces children to kill each other as an experiment, calling it twisted mercy. From the shadows, someone watches, recognizing the horror. They admit their own strange affection for these fragile, dying people. Snow settles over another silent village, bodies strewn where they fell. A figure with horns stands among his work, waiting for feeling that never arrives. An armored knight appears from the white. They call him Wahrheit, one of the three great knights. He has studied the massacre sites, deduced conditions for the gold magic. The horned one corrects him gently. There are no conditions. Demons use magic naturally, like breathing. Humans need to learn to move their limbs. Wahrheit becomes gold before he finishes asking why the demon held back. Because total victory bores him, the demon answers to no one living. By a distant coast, a woman with curved horns greets him, Solitär, student of the great demon king. She keeps a museum of bones, sea creatures shaped alike yet unrelated. She calls it convergent evolution, forms that mimic each other without shared blood. Demons and humans share this trait, she notes. Similar appearances, different minds. They feel no malice, no guilt. Deception is simply what they are. Macht asks if understanding humans might bridge the void. Solitaire laughs, calls it fascination, not hope. Elsewhere, a masked stranger approaches another horned demon with an offer. Kill the hero of the south. The sage of destruction, Macht, is named among the targets. A masked figure named Schlacht stands before Macht with an offer: kill the hero of the south. Macht refuses. The demon king's war holds no interest for him. Schlacht invokes the demon king's order and names Grausam, Macht's worst matchup, waiting nearby. Defiance crumbles into compliance. Macht has seen what Schlacht's future sight means for battles that end only in draws. Before the fight, Schlacht erases Macht's memories, hiding their purpose from a future reader named Frieren. Years pass. Macht massacres villages, forces survivors to kill each other, and watches their guilt with empty eyes. A boy weeps over his dead childhood friend, the one who would not resist. Macht asks what he feels. The answer is guilt. Macht understands the word, yet feels nothing himself. He resolves to forge genuine human bonds in the fortress city of Weise, then destroy them, hoping someday to understand. A horned demon in elaborate black robes ambushes a carriage bound for the fortress city of Weise, slaughtering every guard before the surviving nobleman's eyes. The scarred, light-haired noble does not flinch when the blade reaches his throat. He only reaches calmly for his cigarette box, asking for one last smoke. The demon studies his eyes and finds the mark of a killer. The noble admits he ordered political murders, yet claims his rivals were far worse men. He speaks of guilt as something earned, something heavy. The demon calls that a happier existence, saying such emotions remain foreign to his kind. Once, he was a powerless figurehead over a city of exiled, corrupt nobles. His son possessed the justice he lacked and died for appealing to them directly. 7 years since that death, the noble has learned what cruelty truly means. Now he offers his life to the demon, but proposes a different bargain: servitude in exchange for power. He will teach the demon malice and guilt through lived experience, and the demon will purge the noble families who guard themselves behind walls of soldiers. Years later, the same scarred man sits above 2 subordinates as feudal lord of Weise. Citizens praise the city's prosperity, naming him as its architect. After the Demon King falls, Gluck brings Macht onto Weise's public stage instead of hiding him in the shadows. Macht serves tea, observes human habits, and calmly admits that even the Demon King's defeat means almost nothing to him. Gluck sees the danger clearly. Demons gain trust almost by instinct, even when they do not understand the emotions they imitate. Rather than deny that threat, Gluck decides to use it. Macht will become the Gluck family mage and win the noble's confidence. For Macht, this bargain is another experiment. Gluck promises to teach him justice and evil, while borrowing his terrible power. The city accepts the demon little by little, because his manners are perfect and his usefulness is impossible to ignore. When Weise tests him against a remnant of the Demon King's army, Macht destroys the threat effortlessly and earns public trust. Then Gluck gives him a new role: teach magic to young Denken, a child wounded by demons who must someday see Macht as his enemy. Macht begins training Denken by the lake, turning the boy's grief into discipline and long-range magic practice. Denken does not trust the demon, and Gluck knows that distrust is exactly why the lessons can continue. To Gluck, revenge gives the child a reason to live. Macht becomes both teacher and future enemy in the same quiet arrangement. Years pass. Denken grows into a skilled military mage, while his bond with Lectura becomes the human future Macht can only watch. Years pass. Weise turns afraid of his protector and demands a control device. Macht accepts the stone bracelet of servitude, binding himself to the city while still remaining emotionally unreachable. He serves through Lectura's death and Denken's departure, watching the people around Gluck age and break apart. At last, with Gluck old and the experiment still unfinished, Macht chooses the unthinkable and turns Weise into the Golden Land. Inside the Golden Land, Macht sits among the ruined city and realizes the catastrophe has still failed to give him guilt. He considers leaving and trying again, but Serie appears behind him and demands that Weise be restored. The cruel truth is that Macht cannot reverse what he has done. Turning people into gold is not the same as returning them to life. Serie explains magic as visualization, and Macht's failure exposes the emptiness at the center of his understanding of humans. Her words enrage him. He reaches for her with Diagolze, only for the curse to turn back against his own body. Serie names herself as a great mage, one so ancient that demons have forgotten the fear she once represented. Macht recognizes a different kind of enemy and fights seriously, but Serie neutralizes his attacks with terrifying ease. Before the battle can continue, Lernen and another first-class mage intervene, trapping Macht long enough to begin the barrier around Weise. Back in the present, Fern reports a brief trace of enormous mana near the Golden Land, though even she doubts the reading. Denken takes the warning seriously. Around an imperceptible curse, a hidden enemy could wait for the exact moment Frieren is vulnerable. Frieren is still buried inside Macht's memories, analyzing a lifetime of evidence too vast to finish quickly. The group realizes the work may take 2 months, so they prepare to relocate from the keeper's house to a nearby settlement. While the others care for Frieren's body, the story keeps its tension alive in small details: meals, patrols, and waiting. At the edge of the Great Barrier, Solitär appears beside Macht, speaking to him even though the barrier keeps her voice from reaching him. She has come to watch the end of his coexistence experiment and to help him by deciphering the barrier around Weise. Her analysis finishes first. The Great Barrier falls just before Frieren can complete her own reading of Macht's memories. The barrier shatters, and Fern immediately senses a demon with mana on the same terrifying level as Macht. Inside Weise, Solitär approaches Macht and offers to assist his experiment, certain that demons and humans cannot truly coexist. Outside the city, Denken chooses evacuation. Frieren is still asleep from memory analysis, so the villagers must move without her help. Fern and Stark split away from the wagon to delay the approaching demon, while Denken protects Frieren and the civilians. Solitär introduces herself as a greater demon, and Fern understands the danger precisely because Frieren never taught her that name. A nameless greater demon is nameless for a reason. Everyone who learns the name usually dies before passing it on. Solitär smiles through the encounter, claiming curiosity instead of hostility. But Fern and Stark can feel the death around her. Fern attacks first, only to see Solitär block human magic with ease. Then blades descend from above, and the fight turns desperate. Denken halts the wagon and steps down, telling the villagers to keep moving toward the Empire Ridge without him. The horned demon Macht waits ahead, intending to slaughter the witnesses and pursue the sleeping elf beyond the border. Denken meets his gaze and says, "The hope of restoring the Golden Land was always fantasy." He stayed his hand from hope, never fear. Blinding spells erupt between them, each movement echoing lessons from decades past. Macht admits he underestimated his former teacher's growth, then presses harder to end this before Frieren escapes. Denken answers with Stilisla, curse reversal magic granted long ago by the immortal elf Serie. A flashback reveals Serie upon her throne, indifferent to century-long costs, accepting Lernan's offer to transfer the spell through forbidden rites that sunder life itself. Back in the present, Denken cannot feel Macht's alien mana, yet reads every casting through 40 years of observation. Gold flows across the demon's arm, and Denken declares the transformation can still be reversed. A woman speaks of deathbed confessions, calling them humanity's most fascinating research. She admits demons lack human concepts of family or dreams, yet craves understanding through observation. A wounded warrior interrupts her mid-sentence, swinging her axe to silence her chatter. A Solitär blocks her off effortlessly, then decides torment will suffice where conversation failed. Yet the axe phases through her perfect defense, striking flesh she believed untouchable. Fern's magic trails butterfly light as she bypasses conventional defense through pure speed alone. Solitär recognizes this is not soul track, but something faster, denser, impossible by normal reckoning. She speaks of biological walls, the crushing gap between human and demon lifespans made manifest in mana. She speaks of biological walls, the crushing gap between human and demon lifespans made manifest in mana, then offers to demonstrate her own specialty, a mana strike that drives both fighters to the ground. She will capture them alive, she decides, for interrogation about the elf who defeated Aura. Elsewhere, an elderly bearded mage races through gold-ruined streets, desperate to reach Frieren before transmutation takes her. Elsewhere, an elderly bearded mage races through gold-ruined streets, desperate to reach Frieren before transmutation takes her. Macht intercepts him, mocking the rush toward a battle already lost to stamina and time. A hooded figure discusses Frieren's impossible feat, dispelling sage magic that should transcend normal intellect entirely. Such magic operates on biological differences demons possess, yet humans counteract through accumulated experience without understanding. Memory reveals a younger Frieren declaring the sage's barrier impassable. Their adventure ended. Himmel refuses her resignation, asking whether she cannot visualize crushing a walnut or merely lacks the strength. The distinction between giving up and genuine inability cracks her defeatism open, as a dwarf warrior demonstrates diamonds crushed by raw strength. The hero party assaults the indestructible barrier together, forcing Frieren to join rather than watch from limitation. In the present, Solitär finishes memory analysis and declares Diagolze reclassified, no longer a curse. Frieren stands bloodied but unbowed, staff ready as the horned demon channels terrible light. Gold light still lingers in the air where Frieren stood, but the elf has already moved, her staff tracing a dispel that unravels the curse gripping an elderly bearded mage. Denken wakes to her voice, disoriented, still half-trapped in a dream of a long-haired woman who congratulated him on a medal he earned too late. In that dream, she challenged his despair, asking why the man who never surrendered to Macht in 50 years of training would accept defeat now. The memory stirs something buried, a single training match where his blade actually reached his master, proof that Macht could be touched. Frieren tells him only an hour has passed since the gold curse took him. She has developed protection magic against Diagolze, but the horned demon already knows. A braided great demon introduces herself as Solitär, requesting conversation while noting Frieren's disadvantageous position. Frieren ignores the negotiation. She reveals she fought Macht 6 centuries ago, spent a century restoring her gold-cursed arm, and deliberately risked petrification to study his casting. She deduces Macht monitored Serie's trump cards like Mistilsla, which means Diagolze was never perfect. She claims she can restore El Dorado. Battle erupts. Solitär warns that countering one curse means nothing against 2 great demons. But Frieren has already calculated deeper. Solitär speaks of Macht's true desire, genuine demon-human coexistence, something that distinguishes him from all other demons. Frieren acknowledges his uniqueness with respect, then condemns it. The Demon King once sought coexistence too, and his dream cost countless lives. Denken steps forward, his voice hard with old debt. He will judge Macht himself. Frieren accepts without argument and turns her staff toward Solitär instead. The battlefield splits. Two ancient grudges, two separate duels, and between them, a month of silence before the next move. The duel splits. Frieren faces Solitär alone, mana blades already screaming through the air where Denken stood moments before. Solitär admits she never intended to aid the old mage. She calculates victory paths, while acknowledging human coordination surpasses demonkind. Frieren trusts Denken's hidden resolve, the fighting spirit she reads in his eyes. Her own duty remains, destroy this great demon before her. Lightning cracks from her staff. Macht of El Dorado, the sage of destruction, cannot wield Diagoldza here. The advantage seems hers. Yet Solitär's defense swallows every strike. She manipulates dense mana without incantation, defying magical logic Frieren thought absolute. Then the demon speaks of investigation. Residual mana from Frieren's battle with Aura betrayed her hidden capacity, her carefully restricted truth. Frieren acknowledges the danger. Her technique, refined across centuries, proves imperfect against greater threats than she calculated. Solitär's voice carries casual cruelty. She killed Fern and Stark, she says, not petrified them. The words land like stones in still water. Frieren's face betrays nothing. She trained Fern specifically to escape great demons and failed. The irony calcifies into something harder. An explosion swallows the forest clearing. Through smoke and debris, Frieren traces a simple spell with terrible focus, preparing her counter. Smoke still coils through the forest clearing where Frieren faced the explosion's aftermath. She traces her counterspell with terrible focus, but the long-haired demon's mana does not waver. Frieren realizes brute force won't work. Her mind turns to memories instead. A wounded elf once knelt before her, bleeding yet manic with admiration. Another figure, pleading for life, promised reform with rehearsed sincerity. Frieren dismissed the words. She had heard demons speak of dreams too many times before. Her accuser called her monstrous. She answered without hesitation. Now, in the present battle, her opponent adapts through memory rather than prediction. Each exchange teaches the demon nothing new, yet everything old becomes sharper. Elsewhere in Weise, Denken faces the horned figure he once called master. Solitär strikes faster than the old mage expected, faster than Frieren ever taught. The spell targets souls directly, fundamental to human mages, yet alien to ancient beings. 50 years of sealing in El Dorado left Macht blind to humanity's magical evolution. Denken raises his staff. What he wields is not merely a spell, but the accumulated history of mankind's offense magic. Macht smiles beneath his horns, nostalgic, eager, recognizing a worthy end. Ruined streets of Weise hold two battles burning at once. Denken staggers, blood tracing his beard, yet refuses to kneel before the horned demon he once called master. Macht of El Dorado, seven sage of destruction, channels gold light that no human spellbook records. Denken knows this power lies beyond any mage alive, but stands his ground to buy precious moments. Elsewhere, Frieren faces Solitär, whose faint smile never wavers. The woman speaks of Qual's death, of conversations with many people, weaving psychological poison from truth. She reveals demons are cursed never to understand incantation structure, yet claims she has seen Frieren's condensed soul track before. Then she confesses, two allies dead by her hand, and Frieren cannot prove otherwise. Memory surfaces of a human hero who trusted his comrades absolutely, who believed hesitation cost more than error. Frieren's staff rises. She will not hesitate again. Staff still raised, Frieren strikes. Solitär staggers, realizing too late the elf's mind never stopped analyzing. Even while fighting, Frieren had been mapping El Dorado's structure, a feat no shorter-lived mage could have managed. On cobblestone streets, an elderly mage bleeds before the horned warrior he once called master. A childhood memory returns. Macht had always seemed complete, powerful, and impossible to overcome. Macht condenses soul track into a hidden strike. Denken lowers his guard and falls. Yet the student speaks of draws, of trump cards withheld. Neither falls. A distant city. A mage crumples, pierced from beyond detection's edge. Her killer admires the shot's precision, grimly noting it exceeded even calculated limits. Elsewhere, a cloaked figure rises from fatal wound, flesh knitting, immortal. Memory intrudes. A hooded hero speaks of human strength, of demons destroyed by their own contempt. Frieren's defeated foe accepts death without begging. The elf turns toward distant cobblestone silence. Cobblestone silence shatters. Macht staggers through Weise's alleys, blood threading the walls behind him. He brushes past concerned townspeople, hiding the wound that should have killed him. Then he feels it. Solitaire's mana, extinguished. Memory pulls him backward. She had warned him that his coexistence dream mirrored the demon king's, and that same dream nearly wiped out demon kind. She warned him that his coexistence dream mirrored the demon king's, and that same dream nearly wiped out demon kind. Now she is gone, and he bleeds alone. Macht clutches the stone bracelet. For the first time, death terrifies him. His mana leaks into the brickwork as he flees, ashamed, directionless, still clinging to life like any demon would. His mana leaks into the brickwork as he flees, ashamed, directionless, still clinging to life like any demon would. He finds Gluck where he left him, frozen gold, unmoving. Macht kneels. Chains close around him. In the stone cell, an officer offers bread with unexpected gentleness. Elsewhere, Denken stands over a wounded comrade, blade ready. The man begs for the mercy of death. Denken grants it. Then soldiers arrive with sealed orders. The criminal was a celebrated hero to be captured alive. Denken wakes in a Weise church, confused. 3 days lost to sleep. A robed attendant confirms where Denken is, then leaves to summon the authority waiting for him. Gluck greets Denken as his son-in-law, 50 years erased in one embrace, praising Weise's rescue. Denken reflects that no life is solitary. His achievements rode on companions he never named alone. Elsewhere, Stark shrugs off being shattered into pieces as mere warrior experience. Fern and Frieren exchange whispered concern behind his stubborn back. Frieren compares his toughness to Eisen's legend, then shops for rare magical materials with glee. She thanks Fern and Stark plainly, gratitude so rare it startles them both. A noble confesses corruption, thanking Frieren for restoring justice along with Weise itself. Denken admits he witnessed Macht's memories and feels no resentment at the demon's oblivion. At a graveside, the old mage speaks his final word to Lecteur, death accepted like a familiar. The present blurs into memory. A blue-haired hero walks beside Frieren again, time folding. Macht's story ends here. But the road north continues. Frieren and her companions move forward, unaware of the trials waiting beyond the Golden Land.